astronaut. Although Herrington held tight to his goal of flying in space, his path to astronaut corps was far from what one expect. A lack of motivation as a freshman in college, his interest in rock climbing instead captured his imagination, and he was subsequently suspended from college with a 1.72 GPA. Using his experience as a rock climber, Herrington found work as a member of a survey crew in Colorado Mountains. Exposed to practical application of real-world mathematics, he found a passion for learning that eluded him to continue to school. He followed the advice of the lead project engineer. He returned to college and graduated with an engineering degree. He was also fortunate to meet retired Navy captain who encouraged him to apply to the Navy, which led to a 22-year career as a naval aviator, test pilot, and astronaut. His historic mission to the International Space Station was a culmination of years of experience and training with men and women with diverse cultural backgrounds and technical backgrounds. He also was able to provide a unique perspective that he enjoyed sharing with the audience worldwide. From liftoff to completing 3 spacewalks, mission STS-113 was more exciting and challenging than I could have imagined. That's a quote from Herrington. Following the 4,300-mile bicycle ride across the United States, Herrington returned to the university and earned a doctorate in education. With humility and humor, John shares his stories of challenges, leadership, motivation, and mentorship with diverse audiences of all ages and
people home and we installed this large truss on the outside of the space station. The 4 of us, there's actually 6 people in this photo because Mike and I are wearing suits that weigh about 300 pounds apiece, and NASA doesn't want you to get hurt, so they put a guy behind you to hold you up. That fellow right there. The guy squeezing my nose is a Marine named Gus Loria. He has gold wings just like me, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy. We had a medical issue. He couldn't fly with us. He got taken off the crew about 3 months before launch. So we got an Air Force guy named Paul Walker. Off the launch pad in November 2002, my tribe, which you saw Nation, sent about 200 people down to celebrate my launch. They had a celebration at the Rocket Garden. Buffy St. Marie came down and sang. Hopefully my stock dance group from the tribe came down. My mom and dad actually danced, which was pretty cool. I couldn't do it because I was on the launch pad. And we actually had a scrub that day for an auction league. So the tribe had sent everybody home. And they had to watch it from the theater in Hilo, Oklahoma. But this was made in November 2002. About 7 million pounds of thrust out of solids and mains. It takes about 8.5 minutes to get loaded. You go up, right here, up, and around the Earth, to right about here. You do about 17,500 miles an hour. So the engine's quick. You go from 3 Gs, your normal body, 3 times your normal body weight, 0 Gs instantaneously, and the first thing I did was like my checklist, and it didn't fall on the ground. It just kind of hovered right here. That's pretty cool. I'd never done that before. And it was a great experience. Your gravity pulls you back to Earth, but you're going so fast that the Earth falls away. You're in this constant free fall around. Gravity hasn't gone anywhere. It's pulling you back to Earth constantly. It's just you're going so fast that the Earth is kind of falls past you. The Earth is not flat. I actually had a teacher tell me the Earth was flat once. We had a conversation. Excuse me. This is over in New Zealand. The space station took a photo of us. And we took a photo of them. That was one of those right there. And we docked up here at the top. And we installed a truss just like this one over here. These big white panels radiate all the heat that's generated in the space station to space. It's actually 3 panels We did the exact same thing over here. So there's two systems on board. That suit weighs 300 pounds, but it's not in space. It still has mass. You still have to move it around. And so the pressure inside that suit is about a third of what we experience here on the Earth. So it's about 4.3 pounds per square inch of pressure. And you have to breathe 100% oxygen, because you can't, at that pressure, breathe regular air. So you breathe 100% oxygen. And as that pressure change occurs, you feel it in your ears. So if you've ever been in an airplane or ever been in a go down the pool, right? You feel that pressure in your ears, so you grab your nose, right? You close your mouth, you valve that equalizes the pressure. Same thing happens in a suit. The problem is, you cannot grab your nose, right? You can't sneak your hand in. So, what they do is they put a little foam rubber cushion right here on the inside of the helmet. You can see over here, a little foam rubber cushion right there. And you put your nose on it, you close your mouth, and you blow. Same thing, works just fine. Well, all the liquid in my body is floating, right? And I'm just taking 3 shots of nasal spray, because you don't want to get the sinus block. So I squirt the stuff in my nose, right? So all the stuff I squirt in my nose is now floating in my sinuses, right? I did not realize that I can blow air out this tear duct in my eye. Have you ever seen someone drink a glass of milk and blow out their eyeball? I can do that. Well, when I valsalva, all that stuff in my sinuses comes out of my eye and sticks to the inside of the helmet. You know, what do you do, right? I had no idea that was going to happen. Mike is over here laughing at me. I'm like, what do you do? You know, you tell Houston you got these eye goobers in your helmet, right? So if I told NASA, they would maybe depressurize the suit, take the helmet off, clean off the inside of it, because they don't want me to breathe it in. Then I put anti-fog, put the helmet back on, repressurize. Now I've probably lost maybe 30 minutes to an hour, 40 minutes of my time. And I'm supposed to get out at exactly a certain time. Do not get out late, do not get out late, don't get out late. So rather than tell NASA that had this problem, what would you do as a highly trained professional? Yeah, I slurped it off the inside of the helmet. And it is gross. My Russian colleague goes, John, don't do that, you fog helmet. So the first spacewalk I went out, the helmet fogged up. But the neat thing about this suit is air comes around the back of your head, it comes up over the top of your head, and defogs the lens really, really well. It worked great. I didn't get sick, and I got out on time. So, great shot, I believe, in front of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. These are our Star Trekkers, help us give attitude. These are our reaction control jets. That is my safety tether, about 55 feet long. If I let go and pushed away, I would go out about 55 feet, and that thing would slowly reel me back in, right? So you don't go floating off into the vastness of the universe. If I pushed away too hard, it's designed to break, because you don't want to break your suit open. And so there's actually a jet pack. I've got there's a little hole right there, a hole right there, right here. I got a jet pack on my back. I can fly myself back to the space station with a little controller. Not like George Clooney and Gravity. Remember he was flying around all over the Hubble Space Telescope? It's about 10 minutes worth of battery power and a little bit of nitrogen to get you home. And you don't have very much. You practice that in a virtual reality lab in Houston, Texas. Another great shot. One of my friends took it for me. This is me hanging on to a trunnion pin, a very slick trunnion pin at the bottom of the space station. Gorgeous view of the atmosphere. The robotic arm right here. That's my colleague Mike. And this big cart right here that goes up and down this rail. Also, this is the only picture of me in space that had my visor up. That's me right there. I'm holding on to a 1,000-pound cart with my hands. You can hold on to huge, really big, massive things, but they're weightless. But if you move, they want to stay where they are, so you have to deal with the mass movements of inertia and have to pull stuff along. That's the moon right there. I'm only about 2 or 3 miles closer to it. I rode that robotic arm for about 30 minutes from one side of the space station to the other. Pretty exciting. Another great shot, Mike took a picture of me, taking a picture of him. That's me, my Nikon camera right there. And that's Mike right there. Everywhere the sun is shining, it's about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So for 45 minutes you're sunlight, for 45 minutes you're darkness. It takes 90 minutes to go around the Earth. And you can feel it, being on the stuff for too long, it gets kind of warm and cold. Another great shot, Ken took a picture of Mike, taking a picture of me. So that's the ultimate cliff for a rock climber. That's a great place to be able to climb over the side of the space station, hanging on by a thumb and forefinger. It was a fabulous experience. A little quick video of playing with our tools. It swaps its axis of rotation, goes back and forth. This is a bag of pistachios my kiddos gave me in my food locker, learning how to eat in zero G. And I wasn't very good at it. Boink. You get pretty good at it pretty quick. Boink, boink. That's Peggy Whitson. She was a rookie, but became the first female commander of space station. This is a think of orange drink. Property liquid in space, property liquid called surface tension in space, it forms itself into a wall. And I grabbed some dental floss, I can push stuff around. A lot of Velcro, a lot of duct tape. The Paul's kind of energetic there. Highly trained professionals, there you go. This is a chain my commander had around his neck. He said, put in a ball of water, watch what it does. 2 air bubbles here, coalescent, 1 air bubble. Chain on the outside. We slept in sleeping bags. I didn't like that feeling of not touching anything. The first time I go to sleep, not touching it was really weird. So I would squeeze myself between these bags. My head's actually velcro to the pillow. I painted stuff on the wall, and Paul Lockhart slept in the ceiling. You can. He did a backflip in the sleeping bag. It's pretty cool. Let's see here. This was in 2002. We undocked. We installed the P1 truss. P stands for port. That means it's the first one on the left side. That was then. This is now. 16 countries been involved in manufacturing and assembly at the space station. It's been in space. Somebody's been on board that critter every minute of every day since November of 2000. For 26 years, we've had people flying aboard the space station. It'll probably fly for another 5 years, they say. It'll be deorbited. They're going to pay SpaceX like $3 billion to stick a Dragon capsule on it, and there's some way to slow it down. As it slows down, it falls into the atmosphere. Atmospheric drag slows it down even more, breaks it all apart, and it'll fall to the South Pacific Ocean, probably in the year 2030. That's going to be really sad because we installed that piece right there. I have one little piece of the space station that came off of a car right here at my house. It's a little bolt about that big. I took it with me when I left the space station. So that'll probably be the only piece of space station left after it comes home. So, big issue right now is eyesight. Folks go up to 2020, come back to 2200. Not everybody, but that fluid shift that occurs causes pressure on the back of the eye and pitches on the optic nerve, and it changes your eyesight. So, we're going to go to Mars. You'll be able to see when we get there. So, to honor my heritage, I chose 2 things to fly. The Eagle Feather was given to me by a gentleman named Phil Lane Sr., who was born on the Standing Rock Reservation. One of his grandfathers was a survivor of the Battle of Herrington. Being Mother Earth and Father Sky, all the people of the world, the food was made by a Cherokee friend. Using math, the term for the holes goes based on the length and diameter of the food. I also flew a pod for a gentleman named Al Coyote. Al is a traditional Hopi potter. He's also an aeronautical engineer, and he worked on the X-15 rocket plane back in the 60s. He's a brilliant guy. He made that pot, and now all 3 of those items are in the Smithsonian Museum of American Indian in Washington, D.C. Any idea on Earth where that is? I've seen this before. No, that's China right there. That's South Korea. That's Seoul, South Korea. What's that? Pyongyang. All that white stuff right there is landmass of North Korea. You know, this is a peninsula. That's all land. There's no electricity in some places. You see it from space. It's kind of bizarre. It's the lack of infrastructure. A little closer to home, you're in this picture. The idea that big city is right there. This is looking from Colorado back to the west coast. That big lake right, that big salt flat right there. Yeah. That down there would be Phoenix, Interstate 15, and this little city right here that never sleeps, Las Vegas. A little farther is Los Angeles, up the coast to San Francisco. Way up here, Eugene, Corvallis, Portland, Oregon. Interstate 84, there's Boise. That would be Twin Falls right there. That'd be Pocatello. And that would be Idaho Falls. I think that's Fort Hall right there.
Cool.
Yeah, kind of fun to see that. And look how thin our atmosphere is. That's it's about 100 kilometers, about 62 miles. So that's what keeps us alive. We're very fortunate to live in this remarkable planet. Coming back home, this is what folks do with Zero G. We landed at the Kennedy Space Center after about 2 weeks. We had a 3-day vacation coming home because of bad weather in Florida. We landed, and it's kind of appropriate. I felt like somebody take a bag of potatoes, the AI, right? Put a bag of potatoes on me. I was so heavy, I couldn't stand up. I was nauseous. I had to walk on a carpeted floor. I felt like somebody put marbles on my feet. You ever had that feeling when your hand goes to sleep, that tingly feeling that happens because the blood comes back? It's exactly what your feet feel like when you touch down on your feet for the first time after a couple of weeks. British Economics Columbia. I lost 7 friends on Columbia. 3 of my classmates. We had a flight for about 2.5 years. I was training, I did a Timmy underwater thing in the Florida Keys as a commander. I think called NEMO, NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations. I got assigned to a space station mission. I was going to fly with 2 Russians as a commander. I was living in Russia, outside of Moscow. I went to school in Moscow. And got called from the NASA flight doctor, said I had osteoporosis, and that I had a high chance of fracturing my back coming home with the Soyuz. And so they said I was not qualified to fly on the space station. So I came back, we weren't flying the shuttle because of Columbia, and the next mission that flew, a big chunk of foam came off of it, so I didn't know if I ever fly again. And I got offered a job working for a company in Oklahoma as a test pilot for a vehicle that we were going to fly paying passengers in space, just like Virgin Galactic. They were competing with Virgin Galactic and Jeff Bezos' rocket. We also competed for a thing called the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services, the acronym. It demonstrated going to the space station with cargo. 2 companies won that agreement. One was called Rocket Plane Kissler, the other was called SpaceX. You heard of them, right? Rocket Plane Kissler? Nope. We can raise $400 million. NASA would give us $400 million to demonstrate going to the space station. We could not raise the money. There was no return on investment on that. There were no contracts for cargo. Once SpaceX did it, NASA was given billions of dollars for cargo and for people. So this company went out of business. Well, I left it. I decided to, I was pretty depressed actually. I left a really good job as an astronaut, hoping I'd fly in space twice a week instead of once every 4 years. And so I decided to get on a bicycle. I went to my tribe. I talked to Governor Anatomy, the chief of the governor of my tribe, and he helped sponsor me coming across from Cape Flattery to Cape Canaveral, Florida. Along the way, I stopped at many registrations and NASA schools and shared my story about my journey to the astronaut corps. I called a rocket trek. Had about 3 million, or probably about 2 million hits on the website. Right here in Lewiston, Idaho, I got invited to speak at the University of Idaho by Dr. Edgar Liddell, who was a science teacher at Shuttle High School. He said, "If we're going to get a PhD, come back and talk to me." Well, I lived in Oklahoma. I didn't live in Idaho. But the lady that was my host right here, I proposed to down here in front of the countdown clock. And I got married in Idaho. I called Ed and said, "Here I am." So I did the PhD program on the Dog Valley Reservation in southern Idaho. Worked with data students that had been in the NASA summer program. So I earned a PhD in 2014. I got a long way. I stopped and talked to schools and students along the way. And then that's at Salish Kootenai, around where I live now. And U of I, where I went to school. My wife, I proposed to, she was married to for about 10 years. She passed away from cancer about 8 years ago. And and I ended up moving to Montana. But along the way, she encouraged me to write a children's book, because she was an author. So we wrote a children's book called Mission Space. My tribe actually has a publishing arm called White Dog Press. And so when I'm working on my memoir, they could write my story. I do what my wife told me to do. Right after she passed away in 2018, I got invited with this young lady, Ariel Tweedo, right here, to be in an IMAX movie, to go all these places across the country, and they filmed it, and we premiered it right at the beginning of COVID, and I got really sick. I guess I had COVID, but I survived it all. And ended up making a movie out of it called Indo-America's Wild, and see if you can see who narrates it. See if it comes up.
We were born to explore, from the earliest adventurers to today's modern-day trailblazers. Our curiosity moves us forward into the great unknown, where a vast and beautiful wilderness is waiting to be discovered.
I was chasing down a dream, like you always taught me to.
The creators of National Parks Adventure invite you on an exciting journey into the natural wonders of America.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember, back to the land of my first love.
Join astronaut John Herrington and Alaska native Ariel Tweedo as they explore the great outdoors, from ancient homelands and hidden trails to the wild and our own backyard. Take a step off the beaten path into nature's secret wonders and find out what it means to be at home in the wild.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember, back to the land of my first love.
And Gilbert Freeman's Into America's Wild, a film for IMAX and giant screen theaters.
Morgan Freeman, that's my name. Let's see here. When I was selected as an astronaut back in 1996, one of my colleagues at Teslas, and I wish I was in, excuse me? He said, I was in an astronaut too. So in his mind, the only reason I was selected as an astronaut was because I was native. Not anything else I'd done in my career as a test pilot, as a master's degree, and did really well in my squadron. In his mind, the only reason I was selected is because I was native. That made me work that much harder in my career to not give anybody ammunition. In their mind, I was not qualified or capable. It's totally qualified, totally capable of doing it. Oh, by the way, I was native. Right? I can guarantee you, any person of color, any family in the office, they had that hanging over their head. Maybe not directly, but this was kind of it. And I worked really hard on that. I go back to Gene Roddenberry, any Star Trek fans. Look at this, the flight deck of Starship Enterprise, right? It was pretty cool, right? It had male, female, it had different ethnicities. It had an alien, for goodness sakes, right? And it wasn't just the United States, it was a collective of the world going out and boldly, seeking to boldly go over, out there. Diversity contains as many treasures as those waiting for us in other worlds. We'll find it impossible to fear diversity and to enter the future at the same time. Think about, and I'll harp on this one, is that diversity inclusion is not an unfair advantage to people, it is an opportunity. Everybody I work with the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, and the government has stepped away from any participation in our career fair. The USDA, the FBI, the CIA, NASA, none of them come here because they say it's an unfair advantage for the kids. That is absolutely incredibly wrong. It's an opportunity for kids to be in, to meet people just like them in industries they may want to do something. And we've lost that opportunity. Hopefully we'll get it back here soon. I will drive it home every day. The playing field has never been level, okay? It gave us the opportunity to be with people that we admire, to give us to do something that we dream about doing. And to my dying day, I'll push that. Because I worked with incredible folks at NASA. It wasn't about your color of your skin, it wasn't about your religion, it wasn't about we had a common purpose. It wasn't a product, it wasn't a profit, we had a purpose that was greater than ourselves to work together to make a difference. And I think every Native kids out there, it has the same opportunity, you know. Let's make it happen. Let's drive that home, because right now it's not exactly what's happening in this country. And I'll do my very best to be a speaking wheel in that process. So anyway, that's my story. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions about this journey, what I think about commercial space and going to Mars, going to the moon.
John, what was the connection with your space shuttle mission and Chauvin High School?
Chauvin High School, the mission after mine was Columbia, right? My mission, Ed Galindo and Lois, you guys, helped students here build these getaway specials, these ability to fly on the space shuttle. The only high school students in the country that actually flew on a space shuttle. And Ed and the students flew one product on board the Columbia. I did come home, and Ed came down with the students down to Kennedy Space Center and had a memorial. I got a chance to meet Ed as well. So Ed's been a great dear friend of mine for many years. He was the Native Science Teacher of the Year twice, but also the Idaho Science Teacher of the Year as well. So he was from Pocatello. Yes, sir.
Find it easy going into space from the first, second, third trip?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Was it easier as you went along with the 3 trips in space?
No, I did 3 spacewalks, but I only flew space once. You know, I would love to fly more, but I made this one. I couldn't fly on the station for a long duration. We weren't flying the shuttle, and so I made that really tough decision to leave. The minute we started flying the space shuttle again, that was really hard for me to watch my friends flying space again, and I made a conscious decision to leave a couple years prior. And I regret it. Some of my friends told me 3 or 4 times. But I did everything on the mission that I could ever done as an astronaut. I was a flight engineer, and I rode the flight deck with the commander and the pilot. I did 3 spacewalks. That's all I could ever have done, and I got to do it. I didn't screw up. That's important. You don't fear dying if you're making a mistake. That's just a fear. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
What is it like in space?
What's it like in space? Push off your chair. Push off your chair. And keep going. Because you can do that in space. You can't do it down here. It's every kid's dream to push off the ground and float around and be your own little spaceship. It's exactly what it's like. But once again, you got to pay attention. If you don't want to do anything stupid, you realize it's much harder because you're used to sitting in your chairs, right? And imagine that we're all floating. It get kind of messy in here, right? People bumping into each other. You have to try and figure out to stay in one place. If you're out here and you're floating out here in a vacuum of space, you can't do this to get back to the space station, right? Because there's no air. There's no air resistance. So you can do this all day long. You're going to stay in the same spot, right? So if you're this far away from the space station, you're that far away from the space station. You can't swim back to it, right? So you got your tether, both of you are still tethered, you can't bring yourself back. So it's every kid's dream, you know. Just don't mess up. Yes, and that. Got a question? Are you stairs? Yes, sir. Well, what was the first thing and weightlessness? One of those kids watching my stuff float and watching the dirt on the floor. They try and keep it really clean. When it goes to 0 G, any dirt that's on the floor is going to start floating up. You know, not a lot, but there's a little bit. And so you pay attention. You don't want to breathe it in. I remember I was on the Russian side of the space station, and we were having dinner, and I grabbed this little bag of cookies, this little bag of Russian cookies, and I went to open the bag of cookies, and Valeria goes, "John, look, go." So we float to the corner where there's a little filter, and I open that bag of cookies, and they go, they shatter, right? And all the pieces of the cookies go into this filter, not into my nose. He knew those were crumbly cookies. And so I ate it in the corner. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm just seeing you right there. What happens if you You know, when I was at the space station, I let go and I float off, and everybody's like, "Where'd John go?" That's called a bad day. That's called a really bad day. Well, don't let go. When you do let go, make sure we had a two-tether protocol. So always was tethered in two spots, not just one spot. So this one broke, the other one would keep you there. When you translate across a space station like that, you have this tether that's kind of following you along. As a rock climber, it was just like rock climbing. And I remember the rope was, and where we had to go, and the handholds. It's just once again, don't get lost. Look like a yes.
As you exited the atmosphere, were you able to notice the change in like gravity pull or anything like that?
No, when you leave the atmosphere, you notice a change in gravity. No, because you're accelerating, right? So acceleration is pushing on you. So if I was in a jet and I pull back on the stick, you go like this, and there's a weight that comes down you. The acceleration is the G force you feel. This is 1 G right now. Push on twice, it's 2 Gs, 3 Gs. Like a 10-pound arm weighs 30 pounds. You don't notice it go to space at all. You just notice it go 0 G.